don't know, we
meeting
just gonna
for
sit here and ignore
Tuesday,
them.
March 2nd, 2021. The first order is pledge allegiance. Marty,
Okay, everybody ready? I would suggest you try to follow along as best you can. I pledge allegiance
before the
to the
flag,
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
thank you, Marty. Michelle, I'm going to ask you to lead us in a moment of silence. Sorry to catch you off guard there.
No worries. If everybody would just join me in having a moment of silence, we're just gonna think of all of our first responders, our fire and police, and all the healthcare workers who are taking care of so many COVID victims right now. Thank you.
The chairman's report is we met in executive session this evening prior to this meeting to discuss real estate matter and personnel matters. We don't have any public hearing tonight. The emergency services reports, we have none tonight. Financial report, we have none. We're down to approving the minutes as presented. Anybody have any comments, questions about the minutes for the Tuesday, February 16th meeting?
I find them okay.
not
Okay,
here.
I'll entertain a motion to approve them.
So moved.
Second.
Thanks, John. Any further discussion from the board? Any public comments regarding the minutes? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
thank you.
Excuse me for one moment, David. Susan, the caller ending in 475 is Christina Morley.
It
She
is
just is having
Christina. Okay,
she's having trouble with her headset apparently.
okay. Thanks, Michelle.
Sure. Sorry, David.
No problem. Thank you. Next would be the treasurer's report. Chris, you want to give us a summary?
Sure. There's nothing out of the unusual for this treasurer's report from February 11th to the 26th. We did receive in general fund the fourth quarter 2020 cable franchise revenue, which was about $60,000. It was a little less than a year ago, fourth quarter comparison. Then also, we did get some grant money for the Paler Pike Trail, but it was equally offset by expenses in the same amount. And then just the expense for $351,000 to West Goshen Sewer Treatment Plant, which is part of the agreement. Other than that, I really don't have anything to report other than the auditors are still working to finalize our 2020 audit reports. They should be complete in the next couple of weeks.
Are they still in-house? Are they're?
No, they actually were only there one day. They spent the week on the audit. So we were communicating back and forth a lot with questions and getting more information for them. But right now they're just tying up some loose ends.
Great. Thanks, Chris. How about a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments from public?
Just a reminder for the public, if you wish to make a comment, you can raise your hand by hitting *9. No hands, David, you're good.
All right, thank you. Then all those in favor of approving the treasurer's report, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye,
No, motion carries. All right, next we need to look at the, Rick, we need to look at the payment of bills, right?
We paid the bills. We're
We
down
just
to
paid.
the,
Just what we did.
we're down to the sewer rates.
Well, we accepted the treasurer's report, but we didn't move to accept the receipts and approve the expenditures.
We did not.
Anyone have any questions about the expenditures as submitted on the expenditure register?
No. Mr. Chairman, I move we graciously accept receipts and approve the expenditures as presented in the expenditure register and as summarized in the treasurer's report.
Second the motion.
Thank you. Any questions from the public? I'll call the question. All those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Now we can move on to the sewer rate discussion. We discussed it at our last meeting. It was really more a timing issue. I think the issue was that we get our data and then literally have like 4 or 5 business days to try to promulgate rates and get bills out. And that was untenable. The suggestion from staff was to just move the rate promulgation to later in the year, but it was going to have a 1-year impact of $34,000. Certain members of the board were concerned about that. And so we have a different revised proposal back. So Rick, you want to talk to us a little bit about that, or Chris?
Well, essentially, in order to recoup the $34,000, as we would just add $2.57 for the when we change the rates. That makes this whole one 2021.
And that's a short term 256. That's just for a limited couple, just 2 billing cycles, right?
No, it would be these 2 billing cycles, and then again, when we look at the budget and all that stuff next year, we will have the other $2.47 ground into it.
Yeah.
So it'll carry forward with, if we need it, we have it. If we don't, we'll reduce rates. If we need more, we'll increase rates, but it'll be cooked into the rate.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate you working on that, Rick. I think that was the responsible thing that to do. We not to give up $34,000 of revenue for an enterprise fund that is under a lot of stress to begin with. I was the one that brought it up, so I appreciate you working that formula out.
Yeah, that's great.
So I want to make
Chris,
a motion.
thank you, Chris, too.
You're welcome.
I move we schedule a public hearing for an ordinance to make the new sewer rates effective with the July 3rd quarter billing cycle.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion from the board? Any members of the public?
If I could just add, what we're proposing here, just so everybody understands, is when we change it to July for the recalculation and adopting the sewer rates, they're going to use the 4th quarter, 1st quarter actual aqua water usage.
All right.
So I just want to state that for the public so that they understand.
We'll be using the same quarters as
Same quarters.
Same
Same.
quarters. And we use that just for public knowledge. We use those 2 quarters because they're typically the lowest consumption quarters of the year.
Yeah.
So I often get those questions, so I thought I'd throw that out there as clarification.
Yeah. Thanks for clarifying that, Chris.
You're welcome.
Okay, we have a motion. No members of the public commenting. I'm going to call the question. All those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is new business. And the first is to consider escrow release for 1302 Wilson Drive, which is the Duckling Children's Center. That was an escrow held for construction, and it's the staff's recommendation and the consultant's engineer's recommendation that we release that escrow. Any discussion about that? It's we're releasing
David, I looked at it from this way.
$1,068.73,
For us to,
leaving $11,675 in the escrow account.
Marty had a comment. Marty, go ahead.
I can't hear you.
I look at these to find out what's left, and do we have the wherewithal to handle that if it's
Yeah.
left.
Yeah.
In this
Yeah.
particular case, I don't think for a second that these guys would have recommended anything that would require us to be concerned about that. So I would support that, and I would make a motion to that effect.
Thank you, Mark.
I'd second it.
Second, any further board discussion? Members of the public? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Next item is to consider the recommendation from the Sustainability Advisory Committee. I think Tom Coburn's on the line there, who will unmute himself, and Michelle, as the board liaison, can also elucidate.
Okay, Tom, why don't you go ahead? I'm sorting through papers. I'm getting to it.
Okay. Basically, when we found out that we couldn't access Pennsylvania funds this year for increasing the making available lidded totes for recycling, we didn't want to let that go for a full year or longer until we can access those funds, because it's important, we think, to be able to get lidded containers into the public hands. A lot of people have already bought them on their own, which is great. We estimate that probably about 20 to 25% of the residents already have those 50 to 65 gallon containers. And so what we're recommending, we're working with Rick, and what we're recommending here is kind of a pilot program to see how that would go, and the interest in getting the bigger containers. Evidently, there has been interest when people come in to get new bins to see if there is larger containers that are available. We think that a couple of things. Number one, it'll reduce the litter that happens when the non-lidded small bins go out on a windy day. I think you probably saw some of that today.
Yeah.
If you live on the north side of Paley Pike, I mean, it was pretty windy, and I saw a bunch of it when I went for a walk this afternoon. So I think that's an example of what happened. The other thing that happens is that our sense is that the smaller bins, they break, they don't last very long, particularly in the wintertime. They get cracked easier, they get knocked around. So it's just not a very representative recycling program for what we want in the township. The other thing is that as we looked at the recycling over the last 10 years, we've been kind of static. It's not bad. I talked to Patty Lynn up at the Chester County waste disposal area, and she says we're probably about average with the surrounding areas, but I think we could do a lot better, and we're certainly well below what is being done in the better parts of the country and community. So I think we have an opportunity to increase our recycling. Really, two good reasons we want to increase our recycling. Number one, it'll lower our costs. Recycling costs are lower than current waste disposal, but more importantly, we're wasting a resource. We tend not to think about it that way, but it was pointed out by Brian Hutchison at a recent meeting. And when you think about it, when you're recycling PET, polyethylene terephthalate plastic bottles, those go right back into, actually, I don't have the right sweater on, but I noticed a sweater that I put on the other day had 100% polyester recycled content. So it's going into cutting back on hydrocarbons and things like that are going into other plastic uses. The other thing is that, paper goes into recycled content paper. So you're not only cutting the material that's going to the waste disposal and the landfill, you're providing resources that aren't going to be used, have to be dug up or brought out of the ground and converted from hydrocarbons into plastics. So that's about all I have. Michelle, do you want to add a little bit to that?
I think that you covered that pretty well, Tom. Chris, do you happen to have an idea of how much we have in the refuse fund? Would we have enough to cover the $7,000 or so expense for this pilot program?
It's a little over $500,000 in it.
So
We
we
would
have
have
well
enough.
over $500,000. Thank you, Rick.
We would have enough for this. My question is, what measures are you going to, what are you going to measure in the pilot program?
Well,
We're going to measure. I think we want to really see if we have interest in the residents participating in a more expanded program. We have two 30-gallon containers.
Right.
And we're hoping that when some of the residents would like to hold a few back and actually identify some neighbors in a few of the neighborhoods to actually have these toters and make sure that they can tell people on their street, hey, you can go down to the township building. They have a limited number of them. And I think that we're just trying to gauge the interest of the township residents right now. And we want to see if we can't get a higher percentage of our tipping to be more to be dry and to actually be more recyclable, I guess I should say, Tom. Because every time we send wet material out to the recycling plant, it gets declined, has to go into the general tipping pile.
So one of the
I
questions.
understand why, but how many do we get for $7,000?
Get about 110.
How do we track it?
We're gonna
Well,
have a survey.
We're gonna keep track of the people that pick them up. We're gonna get their email address, and we're gonna ask them to fill out a survey after 4 or 5 months and to give us a sense from their own perspective whether or not their recycling has increased as a
Okay.
result of having the bigger bins. And it'll be kind of a qualitative assessment of that. And then and we'll also provide with the bins some printed material about what can be recycled, what can't be recycled, that type of thing.
Good.
Chris, do we have data on kickback rates for East Goshen Township stuff that's refused for recycle that ends up going into landfill?
Yeah, it comes through on the recycling report that we get from the county.
So one of the ideas here is if we reduce the kickback rate of recycle because it's wet or soiled or whatever, the recycle stuff goes in at a lower rate than if it's kickback, then it goes in at the higher rate. So there could actually be an easy offset of the $7,000 if we reduce the kickback rate. So that would be a measure that would be kind of interesting to track.
But David, it's not like when they take our load to the recycling place, they
Yeah,
dump it, they sort East Goshen's load and determine our kickback. rate.
it's blended. Yeah.
It's blended, yeah, and
Yeah.
yes.
What about how much are we spending right now on bins that we offer?
They're like, I want to tell you, at the
$10.
most, $55, I think, a bin.
Yeah.
Not cheap.
How much
Yeah.
did you think, Mark?
But they don't last. The problem is like Tom was saying, in the wintertime, they just disintegrate,
Break up.
dump them, they bash them on the trailer or on the back of the truck. Keeping in mind, AJ is really, really ahead on technology. There may be a way that we could, if we're only going to get about 110, we could track it through the truck. Like, he may be able to tell us what he's actually picking up, what the weight is, what he's picking up there.
Okay.
That's
Can the board get a copy of the kickback rate monthly or something like that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, we can get that.
That'd be interesting to see.
We
if it goes down.
get tipping fees from the recycling center, and we can go through that to see what actually makes it in, with the exception like the wet paper, like Michelle was saying, and so forth. So I think it's not as hard to track as what some people think.
And the other thing, the point I was trying to make on the cost of the bins that we're buying now is that this is not a new $7,000. We're already buying bins, and so it's off. This will be fewer of the other kind of bins that we're buying for buying
That's a
these.
good idea.
We do also have an opportunity to apply for a grant whereby we could recoup up to $15 per toted bin. And there's no guarantee of that, but the people have contacted David already on that and seem pretty interested in supporting it. So
That wants to try to
there's an
give
opportunity to be able, for us to basically to be able to buy more than 110 with that extra $15 that we did that.
I'll make one final comment, and that is that the other possibility in the future is that we have covered bins. There are certain townships that now are allowing to blend curbside the plastic wrappings that we now take to the supermarket to set in separate bins. There's a couple townships that have pilot programs where they're actually blending that with the recycled material, and it's only available if they're covered bins. So it'd be nice to be able to throw that stuff in with our blended recycling. So that's just another potential advantage going forward. So
It's funny
We
you
need
should
a vote
mention
on
that,
this?
David, because I know that Christie's on here and she probably can speak to that because we were talking about that as well. Christie, do you want to speak
Yeah.
to that?
Yes, I can. We already have ordered from Trek 3 of the recyclable bins that you see in places like Giant, and we are determining where they will go. And that is the preliminary step to our township eventually acquiring lidded bins for everyone, so that the plastic film, the bags on your newspaper delivery, the bags, the inside fillers for your cereal boxes, you know, all those kinds of things that you can't recycle now, including the single-use plastic bags, will all be able to go in the bins at curbside when everyone has a lidded bin, and we make that part of the negotiation with the contract for the pickup.
great. Any other board comment? I would entertain a motion to move to authorize the.
I have one, or a couple comments, actually. Have you thought about how you would store and distribute the totes, the lidded totes? I mean, 110, that's not going to fit in like the lobby of the building.
No, we could keep them over next door at Public Works, and as people
Okay.
request, we would deliver them to them.
Okay.
Oh,
I
I'd
can,
like 6. I'd like 6, Mark.
one per customer.
Oh,
And then I can just tell you, based off of, and I'm sure Susan can chime in here as well, based on the calls and the people that have come into the township building, I think this is really going to take off. I know that when we hand them the little green container, you know, some people have argued with us that their neighbor down the street has a lidded toter, and they think they got it at the township building. And conversations, not, oh, you didn't get it. They didn't get it here. This is what we hand out. So I really think there's a very strong interest, and I think we should be prepared for gangbusters over the 110.
Would
good.
we be
Call the
required,
question.
would we be required to put labels on them? Because we have labels at the township now that we hand to people who have their own bins so that it identifies it as a recycling
Are you volunteering, Susan?
for the lidded bin. I already have one with a label.
I think Rick, you were talking to some of the recycling bin companies. I think we were talking about getting bins that have East Ocean Recycling on them.
We would look to see if we get a township logo on them. That would-
Yeah.
Get them imprinted. Okay, good.
All right.
All right. Any well, I need a motion. Michelle, good.
Okay, so I don't have the paper in front of me because I was looking at it earlier and can't find it. So I'm gonna make a motion that we spend the $7,000 on the pilot program for the recycling toters, size to be determined, 50 or 60 gallon toters, and use them as a pilot program in the township to see if we can garner some more interest in recycling efforts.
Second motion.
Thanks, John. Any further board comment? Any further comments from the public? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Sustainability Committee and Michelle.
Thank you.
Next
Good
item
job.
will be to consider a resolution recognizing April as Pennsylvania 811. I had a neutral line go out on my house on Friday evening, and all of a sudden all the lights in the house were dimming and flashing and flickering, and I called Pico, and they had somebody out Saturday morning with shovels and ditch witches and calling 811, and everything went very smoothly. So, any discussion about this?
No, good program, but let's get that resolution adopted and get back to the Linden Lane one.
Okay.
I move to adopt the call.
It's resolution 2021-185.
All right.
April is digging month. I'll second that.
There you go.
Safe digging month.
Well, you know, and it's even more serious in East Goshen Township because construction strikes on active pipelines can be a real dilemma. So this is a good thing to think about. So
Very good point.
Any comments from the public?
I have a comment, David.
Thanks. Christina, you say you have a comment?
Yes.
I do, yes, very quickly.
Okay.
Is it possible that in order to promote awareness of this new resolution, that perhaps the board could consider planting a tree, as it says in the resolution, or planting a tree either in front of the township building or at the park, and, you know, doing a little article in the next newsletter to promote this and increase awareness?
We could absolutely put it in the newsletter because we're closing in on that right now. The content for the upcoming newsletter, we definitely do that.
But for what it's worth, David, I get 20 to 30 PA1 calls a day.
Wow. So,
Right. The reason why I'm saying that is because I think that it's a very notable point that you're making in here, is that even a small project like planting a tree in your yard needs to trigger a call to 811, and people maybe don't realize that. And so by, you know, doing that action ourselves would be pretty meaningful.
good idea. Rick, let's can we get that in just a blurb in the that we passed this resolution and just let people know. We've done it in the newsletter before, right?
Yes.
Yes, we
And then we also do it when we have Neighbor University, we give out PA1 call stuff.
Okay,
and
cool.
I'm sure that we could get Mark to purchase a tree, do the appropriate picture and stuff, and get it out there and promote it. And I think Christy, it's a good idea to promote it.
Yep.
Great. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Christina.
Thank you.
Good idea.
Thanks, Christina.
Make sure it's in the next one. Okay. I'm going to call the question. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Next item is the authorization of the sale of our, oh, no, well,
The back one.
We skipped Linden Lane. We
I
skipped
missed, we'll do Linden Lane next. Okay.
11C.
This is an access road for Linden Lane for emergency use, similar to the one that we did prior, that would be gated. Cynthia Johnson and Johnson own the property. I've put some conditions on the easement. We've discussed this before. So tonight we're suggesting that we move to authorize myself to execute the temporary emergency access easement. So any comments from the public or from the board?
Well, it's a good community co-op that Synthesis is doing for us. We appreciate it, and I want to commend Michelle for initiating this. This was something she picked up on early to get us to this point. So thank you, Michelle, for your initiative on this emergency access. We now have just about every area in the township protected with a secondary access in the event of a serious flooding or other emergency situation. So thank you for that, Michelle, and thank you, Cynthia.
Here's a quiz for you, and nobody but Mark Miller can't answer the question. How many cul-de-sacs do we have in East Goshen Township?
247.
Yep.
108.
I was just gonna say I saw the number recently, actually.
Yeah. So
247.
all right. That's including the intersection. I'll entertain a motion to authorize the chair to sign the easement.
I
I
would
so
like to,
move.
there we go. And I'll second that. And I just want to say thank you very much for the board's support of this. It does actually grant access to 7 or 8 homes and that wouldn't normally have access in a flooding situation, which happens anytime it rains more than
Yes.
2 inches in that area.
Yes.
So those residents will be appreciative of the safety feature.
Mark
So thank you.
Miller, is this is going to be a hard packed surface, not blacktop?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Do we clear snow from those? The one in Cornwallis and this one?
We do now, yes.
Okay.
It's minutes. We just down there with the loader and shove it off and we go right into Hershey's Mill and he works his way out. So it doesn't take long.
All right, great. Thank you. All right. I'll call the question. Any, I'm sorry, members of the public with any questions about this? Comments? None?
No
Okay,
hands up.
I'm going to call the question. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. And now we need to consider the sale of the wheel loader. Mark, we got the memo about the wheel loader, but you want to just take us through quickly?
Sure.
what the recommendation is?
We're scheduled to replace the wheel loader last year. We deferred it to this year. I would like to replace it this year. We've had people come in and give us trade-in numbers and they're running about 45,000, 48,000 for the unit. I think we can get at least, I'm gonna say close to $60,000 if we put it on muni bid.
Wow.
The reason I say it, right now, that you can't get a loader. So I really think we're gonna do good selling it. And that's where I'm at.
Okay,
What's the new one cost?
Right now,
150, 160.
yeah, about $160,000.
Are we budgeted for that?
Yes, we have. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Perfect.
all right. I'll entertain a motion to authorize the sale of through a municipal bid.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thanks, John. Any comments from the public?
Just so you know, that would be capital, John. It's a fixed asset. You asked if it's budgeted, it's capitalized.
Okay, but we still got to
We do
pay
that.
for it.
Right,
We do
out of
that
the
with-
capital fund. though.
We do
And
that.
it's in the budget in the capital reserve fund.
Right. Good.
All right, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Under any other matter, we want to announce, Mark, or Rick, would you want to take us through the?
So Gary Allhouse, one of our building inspectors, is retiring after about, I guess, 13 years of service, 14 years. Where the years go? He's retiring the end of March. So we've hired Dwayne Brady to take his place. And so I would recommend that the board needs to make a motion to appoint him as a building inspector / assistant fire marshal.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mike. Second.
Second the motion.
Thank you, John. So the motion is to appoint Dwayne Brady as a building inspector and also the assistant fire marshal. Any further questions, comments from the board? Any public comments? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you.
Good luck to Mr. Brady,
Good
Yeah,
luck.
and
Yes. Thank you.
also,
and thank you.
we're in the public comment period. So do we have any public comment at this time on any subjects?
I don't.
I
You're
don't
not
see
the-
any hands, David. If you wish to, whoops, Kay Whittle has her hand up. Okay, you can unmute yourself. Go ahead. Kay. Oh, there you go.
I just wanted to say thank you. I'm a little bit late saying this, but I just want to thank the board for their work on the budget. I thought it was a yeoman's job and really appreciate all that you did on the budget. So that's all.
Oh,
Thank you, Kay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very much.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Mr. Bright, do you have any comment? No. Christina? No.
Okay.
Is it
under-
possible for me to make a public comment or as a member of
Brian.
the SAC?
Oh,
Sure.
Brian, yeah.
Hi,
Yes, I'm
Brian.
sorry, Brian.
Sorry,
Public.
This is Brian Hutchinson. I apologize for not being on screen, but I have an eye infection, so I'm not picture perfect. I just wanted
Thank you.
to be online and to support Tom. I mean, I think what Tom approached the Sustainability Advisory Committee with the pilot program, I thought was a great idea. Tom and I and Mary met in sort of a subcommittee of the SAC, and I'm fully in support of the pilot program. I want to work closely with Tom and other members of the East Goshen staff to sort of take a look at this and make sure that if it is a successful program, and I believe the biggest aspect of the success of this program is public education. I guess because of the snow, I have yet to have gotten out in my neighborhood, which is Reservoir, Rockland Village. But I would agree with Tom, the last time I did go out, I did see probably about 20 or 30% of the residents had more than one recycling bin. So I spent a few hours yesterday, or actually on Sunday, going through some of the Board of Supervisors meetings and the expenses reports. So I do have some sort of, I'm an accountant, so I kind of looked at that and did some auditing. But I look forward to working to make sure that if the pilot program is successful, that we look at this and determine whether it's cost effective. So
That's great, Brian. I appreciate
support
that.
Very good. Thank you very much. Any other public comment?
Hi, it's Christina. I'm just so pleased to hear about the new recycling program that's being proposed tonight. I personally produce a lot more recycling than I do regular waste. So I would be an enthusiastic participant in the pilot program, and I'll be watching that. That's all I'm going to say. I see that we're on track again to end an hour early, so I won't continue the public comment.
Thanks, Christina. Yeah, we look forward to it. It's a great program, and more we can encourage people to do recycling effectively, the better off we're all going to be eventually. So under the liaison reports, I have a report I'd like to give real quickly. I also serve as a member of the pension committee, and we had a meeting last week. And our pension consultant works with over 100 municipalities. And every time we have a meeting, he said, there are about 3 municipalities that I would actually be on your committee, and East Goshen is one of them. The way you guys manage your pension plans is far and above most other municipalities that he works with. First of all, the returns that we're getting with our consultant at CBIZ is fairly phenomenal. I think since 2014, our fire pension fund has averaged 10.67%, and we're funded well over 100% right now. Our non-union pension fund is funded at 134% of actuarially determined expected pension liabilities. It's very rare to find a pension fund that's funded even at 70%. So I just want to comment that the township has done a tremendous job of picking our consultants and working with them, and a great committee of really, really knowledgeable people around the pension area. And our pension funds are in very, very good shape right now. So I just wanted to report that briefly.
Can I make a quick liaison report as well? And then Kay has a question.
Sure.
I just wanted to let you know from the Conservancy, it's actually from the Conservancy and the SAC. we're currently looking into Tree City status for East Goshen. So that's something that's in the works. I don't know how recently it had been done in the past, but I just wanted to let you know that we're currently in the works looking at that situation, and we're going to be working with Jason on that as well. A number of people have offered help from the borough and from West Goshen, so we have support of our neighboring communities as well. So just wanted to share that. And I think Kay had a question.
Okay, you need to unmute.
Actually, I was just going to second what Christina said about the recycling, but my hand went up too late and you guys had moved on. So no, I didn't know how to take it back down. Very sorry.
No problem. Thanks, Kay.
All right.
All right, we're all working with
Under
technology.
correspond.
Technology.
Well, David, let me, since you gave a couple of liaison reports, let me share with you a liaison report. Actually, I serve as and John Herzog and I serve as members on the Business Park Task Force. We had a meeting last night. It was very productive. The Business Park Task Force objective is to examine the condition of our business parks, to get to know our proprietors, our businesses that are in there, how they're doing presently, understanding our CV19 year that we've had. It has had an impact on things, but we're looking more towards the long term as well. The vacancy rate that we have in the business parks is lower than throughout the county, according to the Chester County Business Development Council. But there are a couple anomalies that would probably bring our vacancy rate up a little bit more in the number of square footage presently that is vacant. But it's a good endeavor. It's helping East Goshen get take a proactive view of an important component of our tax base and our community. Depending on how you look at it for either earned income tax or property tax, the business parks represent anywhere from 6 to 8% of our revenues, our tax revenues, and the sustainability and the prosperity of them is very important to us. So we hope to have a report out by the end of the year, but we kind of codified yesterday our thoughts on a particular script or survey questionnaire we're going to be using as we schedule what will be probably all Zoom interviews with appropriate contact people at the various 25 or 30 businesses that we've identified in the business parks to get a handle on their business plans, the impact, what the long term looks like, particularly as we know with CV19, it is having an effect on many service industries associated with previously with bricks and mortar, now with employees going to a remote medium. And there's uncertainty as to how those services are going to continue in a remote fashion, which would lessen their need for bricks and mortar, or whether they will go back to it. So that's kind of a key question we're going to be looking at. Is this year 2 of CV19 continues? But I just thought I'd give a little bit of an update. We'll probably have something in one of the upcoming newsletters as we start to accumulate data and be able to share with our citizens and residents.
Thanks, Mike. I saw a survey today that of CEOs of corporations, and the average, they announced that they'll probably be using 35% less office space when they get back to the normal next year. So just a bit of a crystal ball forecast of what we might see. I mean, we have like manufacturing and other things, which helps us a little bit. But yeah, it's good to keep an eye on that because it's important for a number of reasons in our township. So very good. We are at correspondence, I think, unless anyone else has liaison reports. And I just want to say that we've gotten a number of calls, comments regarding public works over the last 2 months, given the how many, I've lost track of how many snowfalls we've had. And we've gotten some very nice comments, and got a very nice note from a resident who said that she observes the township clearing roads at all hours of the day and night, and really appreciates how effective we do that. I'm putting some data in the
Who's our director?
newsletter coming up about snow clearance in East Goshen's and little factoids for
director,
people.
David?
So,
Who's our director, David?
yes, well,
Mr. Mark Miller,
Mr. Miller.
front and center.
I don't want to just,
Whatever, there he
give
is.
Mark
There
all
he
the
is.
kudos, because his staff, I mean, those guys are, the whole public works, including Mark's, under Mark's direction, doing a great job. And thank you very much for the yeoman's job this year, particularly.
And
Thanks, Mark.
I will pass it on to them guys. You got a good group of people downstairs for sure.
Yep, absolutely the best. Any other matters? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, John.
Third.
Aye.
Fourth.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
no.
Aye.
Motion carries. Good night, everybody.
All right,
Thank you.
see you guys. Thanks for
Thank you.
everything.
Very good.
Have a good night.
All right, you too. See ya.
You're gonna enjoy being manager, Michael.
My days of managing are over. See you guys. See you, Marty. Thanks, Susan.